coming up next on the Wet Fly Swing podcast.
Oregon Inlet's the worst inlet on the East Coast. And, the fish are in the whitewater in big breaking seas, and they don't pay attention, and the tide switches and it starts going out. And next thing you know, you're in the middle of the break in the whitewater and you get flipped. We had to rescue a friend of mine, and his partner in his boat died. So it was a bad time.
That was Brian Horsley describing one of the most dangerous inlets on the East Coast. False Abacore silversides and the Bluefish blitz today on The Swing.
Welcome to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show, where you discover tips, tricks, and tools from the leading names in fly fishing today.
If you've been enjoying this podcast and you get a chance, it would be great if you can share this episode or a past episode of this podcast. Every app has a real easy button. You can click and share an episode. Thanks in advance if you had a chance to share an episode today. Today's episode is sponsored by Mavrk Fly Fishing. They make the lightest Euro nymphing reel in the world, which makes your rod more sensitive, casting more accurate, and you can hold your dead drifts longer without shoulder burn. Check out Mavrk Fly Fishing Stinger and their other Euro nymph products and support this podcast by heading over to wetflyswing.com/Mavrk right now. That's Mavrk, Mavrk, wetflyswing.com/Mavrk. Check out the lightest and most unique Euro nymphing reel right now. Today's episode is sponsored by Zag.Fish, who creates ethically sourced premium fly tying materials with their 5D brushes. These are the Fairflies brushes that we've talked about before. Zag.Fish is the place you can go to pick up Fairflies products and the other stuff they have going on in the fly tying niche. 5D brushes contain the perfect proportions to tie great streamer, bass flies, saltwater flies, and we're going to be using some of these flies even more as we do some of these saltwater trips. You can check out Zag.Fish right now by heading over to wetflyswing.com/Zag. That's Z-A-G. Brian Horsley is here to break down the North Carolina Outer Banks and the saltwater fishing he focuses on. We discover which runs have been up and down in the region over the years. We find out which lines they use to dredge the bottom. This is interesting, some fishing that Brian discusses here. And we also find out about how to catch red snapper on the fly, plus the saltwater HD. If you love giant fish and occasional shark, then this episode is the one for you. Here we go. Brian Horsley from obxflyfishing.com. How's it going, Brian?
Good.
Thanks for coming in here and chatting a little bit today. We're gonna dig into a species that we've talked a little bit about in the past, but not a ton. False Abacore, and then we're gonna talk about some other, whatever else the other things you do out there on the East Coast. Before we jump into false Abacore, take us into how you first got into fly fishing. Then we'll jump back into what you're doing now.
I started fly fishing, when I was in high school in the late 60s. And I actually started saltwater fly fishing in the mid 70s. We used to have legendary big bluefish blitzes on the beaches in Kitty Hawk. And after you catch them, everywhere known to man, it was definitely, time to try a fly rod.
Yep.
And it just moved on from there.
Yeah. What's a bluefish blitz?
They're very cyclical species, and it hasn't happened since the 90s. But we used to have tens of thousands of these 12 to 20 pound bluefish in the surf. And it was spectacular. It happened every spring and every fall.
Wow. And they would just come in like they're surfing in and jumping out of the water?
Yeah, eating, pushing bait up on the beach.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
It was amazing. That's what really the Outer Banks was known for back in the 60s and 70s and in the 80s as well, up until about 92. And then things changed.
What happened in 92?
I think the bait changed. And in the late 90s, we saw the reemergence of the striped bass. And you can't have two apex predators occupying the same space at the same time.
Oh, wow. Right. Stripers are out there.
Yeah.
Do you fish for stripers too?
We do not have stripers anymore.
Oh, really? So, wow. So no stripe. And this is again, changes in ocean conditions and fishing pressure, stuff like that?
starting about 97 to 2006, the stripers were at their peak population-wise, and we used to get, it was an all winter long thing. We did not see the bass until starting in November. And they wintered off the coast out of Oregon Inlet until, first hard sou'wester in March, and then they go back up the line. And 2006, it was dwindling, and I started doing something else in the winter. And my wife fished it for another year, but I started commercial fishing. I just got, it was not worth the effort to me.
Gotcha. What were you? What was the commercial fishing you got into?
Seabass and groupers. We were the last. We were the Lone Rangers, the last of the pot fish trap fishermen.
Oh wow! And are the seabass and groupers still out there?
Oh yeah. Seabass and the group. They're both there. Seabass are at their historic high level right now.
Oh wow! See, that's the interesting thing. I mean, I know nothing about that area, but it's, you got one population going down and then you got another one coming up. It seems kind of, sometimes, does it feel like it's hard to figure out what's going on for you?
Oh, absolutely. Everything's cyclical, but cycles can be influenced by man. And so you have to realize that.
Yeah. Who would be if there was a group to talk to that could dig way more into like what's going on or with a history there of those species, that area? Is there a group out there, like a conservation group or something like that?
I would say North Carolina Marine Fisheries.
Okay.
Unfortunately, our conservation groups out here are very biased.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one-sided. They can't come together as a group sort of thing.
Yeah. No, we don't have that yet.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, that's tough. You see that sometimes and hear about it sometimes where it's like the worst thing ever, because if you can't talk to the other side, right, or whatever, it's a no starter, right? I mean, how can you, if you can't work together?
It can't work. Yeah, it's very contentious. North Carolina is extremely contentious in its fishery politics.
Gotcha. Okay, so in North Carolina, I mean, we've done a ton of episodes on the East Coast, but we really haven't dug deep into North Carolina, especially on the coast there. And it looks like a pretty cool area. What's that like if somebody hasn't been there? Take us to that, like if they're coming down to go fishing in that part of the country. Paint that picture a little bit.
Well, the Outer Banks is what the northern and southern Outer Banks is my home. And it's several hundred miles long. And what they are is just thin strips of sand islands. And we've got a lot of bait from, we had the huge Pamlico Sound and the core sound behind the islands. And it's just spawning areas for all kinds of bait, and for the old drum, for the big reds that they spawn there, speckled trout, bluefish, flounder. And there's an unbelievable amount of opportunities. When I started in, guiding in 92 or something like that, people said I was crazy. And but our inshore fishery changes a lot, with ups and downs and cycles of species. And it's hard to, and plus we're affected by cold stun events. We'll lose 60% of our speckled trout in a really severe winter, and a lot of our slot redfish, and but for the last 5 years we haven't had a cold stun, so our fishing is actually pretty good. And what we're facing mainly now, what I believe is the biggest problem, is water quality, like every place else.
Yeah. So water quality being like temperatures and things like that.
Temperatures and runoff from, everybody, North Carolina, the eastern North Carolina, right. Around the coast, the population's exploding. And plus we've got a lot of agribusiness, big farms. So it's very, very complicated.
Yeah. Gotcha. And the towns around there, I'm looking, you got kind of like what, Greenville, Wilmington, those are some of the bigger towns.
Yeah, Wilmington is about 2 hours and 20 minutes south of me. I'm actually close to Morehead City right now.
Morehead's okay. Yeah.
I grew up in Nags Head, and that's my home in Nags Head. We just moved from Nags Head to the Morehead City area. Actually, I'm on Harper's Island, and because of the fishery, in the fall. Yeah. In the summers, I'm in Nags Head, Oregon Inlet area, and then in the fall, I am about 100 miles as the crow flies south on Harker's Island for the false albacore and everything else that's here around the Cape. And we just winter here, based out of here in the winter, just because the winters are milder. Believe it or not, we're only 100 miles south, but see, up there in Nags Head, the beach faces east, so you have all that cold north wind coming over the water. Down here, the beach faces south, so the cold wind gets moderated when it blows over the land.
Oh, I see. Huh. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, I see Nags Head right there, and you got yeah, it's pretty cool, interesting that so that's just shallow water in there along that spit or whatever you call that thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that a natural and there's a highway, there's actually a road going down south off of that?
Oh yeah, you can drive all the way from, from Currituck, from Corolla, which is the northernmost Outer Banks, all the way to Oregon Inlet. Then you cross a bridge over to Hatteras Island and all the way 63 miles down Hatteras. Then you get a ferry.
Oh, wow.
And jump a ferry over to Ocracoke Island. And then you can get another ferry and take that from there to Cedar Island, which is just right up the road for me.
Oh, okay. And I'm just looking like Frisco. That's kind of out there on that point. Is that?
Yeah. That's on Hatteras.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So you can actually drive to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I see it now. I'm kind of zoomed out, but yeah, it's full on. Yeah, this is cool. Okay, so that paints the picture a little bit. And then if somebody's coming in to head out with you on the boat, what does that look like? If somebody, let's say we call you up here and we're thinking, we want to come out fishing, sometime this next year, what would you be telling me?
Well, if you had an opportunity to come here to Harker's Island and fish, that's our fall fishing's our world-class fly fishing. Mm-hmm. It is world-class, and you're fishing breaking fish. They pull hard. They'll show you a lot of backing, and a lot of different opportunities. And
yeah, how do you fish for that? Take us to we're out there, the breaking fish. What's that look like?
Well, it's about a 20-minute run from my marina to the ocean, and then depending on what the tide's doing, what the wind's doing, I've been doing it for 25 years here, so you know where to look, and you're looking for birds, or are you looking for current? The more I do it, the more I realized how these fish are totally tied to the current flow. Mm-hmm. And you've got 3 or 4 hours of really good fishing, when the tide is, it seems like in the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the fall season, they like to flood tide. And then in the later on in the year, they go to the ebb tide, to the falling tide. But, the more tide you got, sometimes the better the fishing can be. And that's, because it's flushing more bait. And the albies, they eat bay anchovies. They'll eat anything, but they prefer bay anchovies and silver sides.
Okay.
But you look for birds.
Yeah, you look for birds. So basically, you're cruising out there, and these fish are feeding. So the birds are feeding on fish, and then that shows where the albacore are.
Yeah, exactly. The birds are feeding on the bait that's spraying from the top that the albies are pushing on.
Oh, right. Wow. So the albies are chasing them around.
Yeah, cool. And it's a big area. It's huge, and we rely. There's about 10 or 12 of us guides that work together, and radio communication is very, very important, because it's a huge. I can run 28 miles one way and then 18 miles the other way, and so it's massive. The ocean's giant. And they're hang out in certain places, but they're likely to pop up anywhere. So good communication with your other fellow guides or other fishermen that you trust is key to this fishing. It's a team sport.
Yeah, gotcha. So you got to track them down, and then once you find them, like you're saying, you find the currents. You kind of learn that over the time. Once you find a group of them, how many are traveling? How many are in these groups?
It can be 5 or 6, or it can be 300 or 400.
Oh, wow. Yeah. A bunch of fish.
A bunch of fish. And they have their usual spots that they like to hang out in because of the current and the bottom structure. But there can be a lot of damn fish.
Yep. And once you find the pod, if we're sitting there with you on the boat, what does that look like? I mean, gear, I'm assuming we're using some pretty heavy duty gear.
No, I use 8s and 9s.
Okay. 8s, 9s. Yeah.
Yeah. And occasionally a 10. And, we're fishing weather. We're fishing a lot of wind. 20 knots is normal. But people look at me like I'm nuts, but I'm saying, look, you're casting across the wind. And I try to position the boat where if you're a right-handed caster, the fish are going to be they don't stay still, but you do your best to keep them from 9 and 11 o'clock on the clock face on your boat.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make the cast, and as soon as your fly hits the water, you want it to be tight and stripping. The two-handed strip works extremely well. And,
Gotcha.
And the newer folks, but a lot of my guys have been fishing with me here my whole career, 30 years or better, and they're pretty good.
Mm. So you don't have to be necessarily exact, or you just placing it like right in the middle?
No, you just aim for the froth.
Yeah, go for the froth.
Yeah, I mean, we call it put it in the pudding.
Right.
And sometimes they can be persnickety and you got to fish the edges of the bait, but most of the time you put it in there, you're going to get a bite. You should get a bite, or at least have a chance to get a bite.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So this is not like your like permit fishing or bonefish.
No, hell no.
Yeah,
hell no.
Not at all.
This is junkyard dog fishing.
This is pretty cool. And then what's the, I guess the big thing here is once they hit it, hold on for your life sort of thing.
You queer your line and let them go. They're going to jog off. Most fish, unless they're truly big, and we haven't seen those in 2 years. I mean, I'm talking to fish that are 18 to 25 pounds.
Yeah.
They'll jog off 30, 40 yards of backing. And then they go. There's two ways to fish them. I'm fishing with a little bit lighter drag, so they can jog off and tire themselves out. Or you can fish them with a really tight drag, and it's going to be an up and down battle, which to me is not much fun.
Yeah. Gotcha. So let them go.
Yeah. And when they get close to the boat, they circle. All tunas circle. So you work with the circle. You go up there and you explain. If you guys knew, you go up there and explain. You see when the circle's coming to you, you can gain line. And a lot of times when the circle goes away, you're going to lose a little bit of line. But it's a great way. It's a great learning area to become effective big fish fighters.
Right. Gotcha. They're not huge. So the sounds like the fish are smaller in size than they used to be.
Nah, our average fish is, 8 to 12 pounds. Every once in a while, usually mid to later November, we'll have what we call the buffalo show up. Those 18 to 25 pounders, and they're a whole different animal.
Yeah,
and we have not seen them this year. We did see them last March, and caught the biggest fish I've ever caught. Albies. We had a 28 pounder, which is giant. And so who knows? I know the big fish tend to stay offshore more. I know the people commercial fishing for bluefin tuna, live baiting for bluefin tuna, were cussing because the big albies were eating their bait all fall, all of December.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Wow. What are the kind of some of the gears and flies and things like that? What does that look like? So it's an 8 or 9 weight, and then a 9 weight's perfect, and I fish 16, 20 tippet. 16 I prefer. You need a reel with a good drag, and we use. We're sponsored by Rio, to me, the outbound shorts are perfect. Yeah,
because it's not a precise cast, but like I say, you're fishing a lot of wind.
Oh, right.
And a lot of chop, a lot of rough, and so those lines get it done. That's
a good line. So the outbound is short.
Yeah, and a 9-foot leader. So I like to use extruded leaders, knotless leaders, just because the more fish you handle, the more your hands get cut up, and knots going through cuts really hurt. So I choose not. So I carry a bunch of knotless leaders on my boat, but anything works like that. A good tapered with something that's going to turn over the fly.
Right.
The flies tend to be small. I tie most of mine on either number 4, and a big hook would be a number 1. Little Clousers. I personally like throwing unweighted flies like epoxies, little like Popovich's surf candies are really, really effective. And the Abacore from up north. We steal fly patterns from up north all the time, and stuff like that. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, not rocket science here. These guys are, once you find them, you're in it. And what is it? So once you're in it, I mean, how many fish are you potentially, like, in a day or a session are you hooking into?
I'm greedy, so
yeah.
We've caught, I don't know, we've caught a lot in a day, but 15 or 20 is good.
Yeah, 15 or 20 is a good day.
Yeah, with 2 people, it's a great day. And most of the time, if they're on bay anchovies, they're a lot easier to catch. When they're on the spearing or the Atlantic silver sides, they can be tougher because spearing don't bunch up, don't go in a tight ball like bay anchovies do. They tend to spread out, and they can get really particular. That's when you need a fly that really kind of mimics the silver sides. And they can be frustrating as hell.
Yeah, just because they're spread out. And then are you actually seeing the fish, or still just casting to where you think they are?
You're seeing the fish breaking and the bait spraying, and in years past, fishing silver sides was my favorite because you could almost see a pattern how the fish are going to move. They start up here and they come in the current, then they pop back up to where they started. This year, they totally handed me my butt. And I got on into some of the biggest blitzes this fall in our area. That was all silver sides, and I had great anglers. And for the life of me, I couldn't get the bites I thought I should get, and it was really frustrating. But that happens.
Right.
Every time you think you're good, you get slapped down, and it can be very humbling.
Right. So you're not, every day, just like it is fishing, right? So you're not hammering them every day.
Exactly.
Today's episode is sponsored by Trxstle, who has earned an exceptional reputation over the past few years in the fly fishing industry due to the popularity of their telescopic fly rod roof racks and statement-making artist series apparel lines. Their latest release for 2023 is the Geryon Universal Bike Rack Packing System, a brand new way to transport your fly fishing and outdoor gear. The Geryon will give any modern bike the ability to bring 30 pounds of gear with its front and rear articulated racks. Whether you ride a full suspension mountain bike, an e-bike, or even a carbon fiber road bike, the Geryon will get you and your fishing gear further faster and have much more fun along the way. I can tell you this has been a big struggle for me. I've been riding my bike, both road bikes and mountain bikes, and had lots of issues over the years packing my gear, whether that's crappy storage on the back or a trailer that's just too big and bulky. So I'm excited to share this packing system, which is going to make it way more convenient and accessible to get out to the places you need to go. You can learn more about how Trxstle is transforming the way you access your favorite water, backcountry hunting zones, and camping spots. Head over to wetflyswing.com/Trxstle right now and be the first on the water and the farthest upstream and away from the crowds. That's Trxstle, Trxstle. Trxstle, live your pursuit. What do you tell somebody, going back to that, getting ready if we were coming out with you? In the fall, it sounds like, so you're talking what, like September, October?
October, November.
Oh, October, November. Okay, so that's like the prime time.
The September, the fishing used to be, we used to fish a lot in September here. I used to leave September the 1st from Nag's Head and come down here. You can't give away a trip in September now. The fishing's good. The fishing's decent, but, I'm going to stay up there and because I turned away, and run trips. And September is very busy in Nag's Head. So I'm going to stay up there this year until the end of September.
End of September. Yeah.
But October, November into the early December, we had the best albie fishing of the whole season, I think, over Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
And which is, people don't want to travel during Thanksgiving because they have family. But
right.
It's Thanksgiving. But Sarah, my wife, and I fished, and the locals fish, and it was really good.
There you go. So you guys are kind of a team guiding out there?
Yeah, we're partners. Yeah. She's been guiding for 25, 26 years. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And she spent the last 2 summers in Alaska guiding.
Oh, no kidding. We're out in Alaska.
On the Connecticut River for real action.
Oh, for real action. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I should talk to her next. We're heading up there this summer.
Oh, great. The guides are great. I've been up there 3 or 4 times, and I love it up there. And I love Paul is such a good friend, and I like the fishing. I was there for King season one time, and I've been there 3 times in August.
Well, let's go down that road. I can't leave that since we're heading out there just for a sec here. So what was your King, what was that experience like?
Awful.
Was it? You didn't have any good luck?
It was extremely high water when we were there.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely high water, cloudy.
Were you there in July?
I was there in June.
Oh, yeah, you were earlier, right? Yep.
And that King season this last year's King season was very good.
Yeah.
And, I'm not very well versed with a 2-hander. And,
sure.
But we had fun, and some of my, I took some folks up there. My guys all caught some 25-pounders, and I pulled one off on a single-hander that was a great fish, and I just pulled the hook.
Right.
But it was fun. It was a weird year, and we did it. But, the other times I've been up there, it's been just spectacular. The silver fishing the silver fishing up there is phenomenal, but I really like trout fishing. I don't do much. I don't do much of it. I'm a novice when it comes to freshwater fly fishing, and there's enough trout up there and dollies that I can screw up but still have a chance to catch some fish.
That's right. It's pretty interesting because you're a guide, which is amazing, but it's a totally different deal, right? I mean, for the trout or for the freshwater stuff, what is the hardest thing for you?
Oh, everything. It's not the cast.
Not the cast. You got the cast down.
I got the cast down. Just thinking the mending, the drag-free drift or whatever.
Yeah. What about when you hook one of those? Have you hooked some of those nice rainbows?
Oh, yeah. Well, on the Connecticut, a big rainbow is going to be 25 inches.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they are amazing.
Yeah. How does that 25-inch rainbow compared to a false Abacore?
They don't, but it's still cool.
Yeah.
You got to take. I've had the pleasure of fishing pretty much all over this hemisphere, and I try not to compare. It's just very cool.
Yeah, right. They're all unique.
Yeah, with a 6 weight and a 10-foot 6 weight or a 10-foot 5 weight, and go up there and catch those trout. I mean, they're so beautiful. They pull good. They jump, man. They're just beautiful fish. And I'm a photographer.
Oh, nice.
And we were up there in August this year. The last week the camp was open. I probably spent 3/4 of my time with my camera in my hand than I did to fish.
And that's cool. Nice to have that.
Yeah, I enjoy. At this stage of my life, I enjoy the photography as much as I do the catching.
Yep. Seems like that's what it's all about. It seems like as you get older, you find, even though you still love the fishing, right? It's always there. It almost seems like that becomes the secondary thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The trout up there are great, and the dollies and the grayling.
The grayling. Yeah. So that Connecticut is the real action. Do they have is it like a lodge or is it camp lodge or what do they have there?
It's a tent camp.
Yeah, tent camp.
Very comfortable tent camps.
Yeah, like glamping.
Yeah.
Glamping, like nice tents, nice food, like chefs, and they got the whole thing.
Yeah. You're not going to suffer.
No.
And it's hilarious. And
How close are you guys to the to like the saltwater?
There, we're right there at the mouth of the river.
Yeah, you're at the mouth. Yeah, because I think there's three. I think the Real Action, and then you got the older lodges upstream, like the Duncans, right? There's a couple other ones.
There's 2 Duncan camps. One's pretty far up, and then there's one in the refuge, and then Alaska West, which is up there just shy of the Duncan camp. And Paul is right across from Real Action's right across from Quinahawk. We're right there at the mouth. And,
oh wow, yeah.
I mean, you're catching silvers that have been in the river maybe 3 hours.
Yeah, they're fresh.
Yeah.
And when you're down there at that camp, it's still remote. You're still out in the middle of nowhere. Do you see, and there's other people floating by doing all that stuff?
Not a lot.
No.
It's just the other camps.
Okay.
It's pretty damn remote. Last summer, Sarah said king season was a little busy because the surrounding rivers were closed to king. So a lot of native people had come up there. The kings are very important to their survival. So
sure. Wow. Okay. So that's pretty cool. The Connect Talk, and like you said, you're so you guys both, you and your wife, you both you make a trip up there every year?
Not every year, but not be my last trip.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's good.
And I've got some really good friends who are Yupiks who live in Quinahawk, and plus the guides who are there are dear friends. Mm-hmm. Year before last, I spent 17 days up there helping them break camp, and this year I had to be in Brazil, so I couldn't stay.
Right on. Well, sounds like you've got some good stuff going throughout the year, not just out of North Carolina.
Yeah.
So we talked a little about false Abacore. What about like bonito and other species? Are you guys catching other things out there, during the trip?
We catch the bonito run here is in the spring. The Atlantic bonito are in the spring.
Gotcha.
And they're over the wrecks and artificial reefs and stuff. And it's quite popular. And you need to be there at sunup. And
yep.
And quite frankly, the best bonito fishing's right in the middle of turkey season.
Oh, yeah, spring turkey.
Yes,
that's right. So you do a little hunting too.
Yeah, my wife is a predator, but I enjoy turkey hunting a lot.
Yeah. That's right. So you guys that is pretty cool. I mean, North Carolina is pretty diverse, right? You have probably deer hunting as well and things like that.
Yeah, we got great deer hunting.
Yeah, that's it. What is the North Carolina just in general, where you guys in that part of the country, what do you love about living out there?
It's where I grew up, and where I can understand the people, and just the diversity. It's harsh, we get run over. Yeah, we get run over by a hurricane.
Right.
And it's just where I've been my whole life. And
gosh, what was the big? Was there last hurricane you really remember that was pretty big?
Irene, whenever that was,
Irene.
she come up the sound, and it was really bad sound side flooding. My neighborhood got clobbered. And luckily our house was fine, but my neighbors closer to the sound from me got clobbered.
Yeah, right. So flooded. Yeah, I mean that is pretty devastating, right?
Everybody's built up on pylons, but anything that's down below gets very wet.
Yep, gotcha. Okay, so we talked about the bonito a little bit, but that's kind of a spring. So during that fall time with false Abacore, I mean, that's your focus. You're not really hooking into.
Yeah, well, it's great Spanish mackerel fishing. Mm-hmm. You can catch some tremendous big Spanish mackerel, kingfish. King mackerel. If you get the weather, it's all about the weather, and obviously the old drum, what we call old drum, what some people call bull reds, but if you call them bull reds around here, you get laughed at. We call them old drum.
Okay, old drum,
and it was really good in October, first part of October. They were early, and then the weather wouldn't, to get to where they live, you got to cross the shoals at Cape Lookout, and you got to have the right weather. And we had a few days in October we could do it, and then November was a no-go, and we caught them a couple of days ago over there, and December's been pretty good, and end of December, Christmas, and they'll be there all winter. You just got to get the weather, and you got to have the boats. It's a team sport because you're not really seeing. Sometimes they'll break on top. But most of the time, you're marking them with the bottom machine and using a sinking line to get a fly down. And you got to have other boats because once you hook a fish, the schools are not static; they're moving fast. And 3 or 4 boats, we've got. I think there's 4 or 5 of us that fish together all the time, and they're good. And and their information, they're on the radio all the time. And so when you hook a fish or hook a couple of fish, by the time you get those in, that school could be 300 yards away, 400 yards away in some unknown direction. And so it's good to have other boats to help you find them to start with. But then after you catch a fish, to stay with the school so you can, after you release your fish, you can move up and hopefully get another shot at another one.
Oh, gotcha. So you're chasing them around basically. Huh. And what type of boats what do you use out there? I'm building a new one. I've been running Donnie Jones Brothers boats since they're 23-foot center consoles. I've been running them since 1996. And the boat I just decided to upgrade was 21 years old. And I decided not to retire this year. And so I decided, well, hell, I'll build me a new boat. Hell, I'm 68. Oh, wow. Yeah. So you're getting close to thinking about wrapping things up.
Yeah, but what the hell am I gonna do? So,
right, exactly. It sounds like you're already retired. I mean, you're out there fishing out off. You know what I mean? That sounds like retirement already.
And so, they're very popular here. Those 23-foot center consoles, and they handle the CRC. They were built for Cape Lookout, and they're very versatile, very popular in the Northeast now. And in the Bay, in Chesapeake Bay.
Chesapeake. Gotcha. What would be I'm curious looking it up. What would be the name of the boat again? If you Googled it up.
Jones Brothers Marine.
Yeah. Jones Brothers. All right.
And it's a 23-foot Cape Fisherman. All
right. I'll put there it is, Cape Fisherman 23. I'll put a link in the show notes just so we can take a look. I'm always interested to see what. Oh yeah. It's open. Yeah. So you're fishing. That's cool. You're fishing all around it. You're in the middle, and then you can have what could you have like 3 guys on that boat?
Yeah, I can fish 3. Prefer 2 in the fall. Yeah. And in the summers, I'll take 3, and occasionally, if I know the people, I'll take 4. But we're spin fishing. It's a lot of my summer fishing's family groups, which is great. I love it. Yeah. But it's more spin fishing than fall.
Spin fishing. Got you. Yep. And that's God, that is a cool boat. So you're in the middle. You probably got do you also have a platform on top?
My wife has a tower. I do not. I do not. Yeah. I've got a T-top, but that's it. And I don't want a tower.
Yeah, the tower. So the tower is just to help find fish, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll hurt you.
Oh, really?
Well, the motion's so far amplified up there.
Yeah, right.
And I'm old. I don't want to get my butt beat unless I have to.
That doesn't sound like fun. Gotcha.
I was up there the other day.
Yeah. You were up on your wife's?
Yeah, the other day, because I'm boatless at the moment, and we've been fishing in hers.
That's cool. Well, have you been out? I mean, have you had some pretty rough, close calls out there in your boat?
I've had my ass handed to me, yes.
Have you ever, I mean, is it hard to dump a boat?
I've never dumped one. I've seen them dumped. I've seen people die. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's the situation where you've been closest to,
rescuing somebody?
Right. Just big seas, just giant waves and wind.
Well, back in the 90s, when we had striper fishing, the first place they showed up, and they showed up in the shoals in the Whitewater Oregon Inlet. Oregon Inlet's the worst inlet on the East Coast. And people, the fish are in the Whitewater in big breaking seas, and they don't pay attention, and the tide switches and it starts going out. And next thing you know, you're in the middle of the break in the Whitewater, and you get flipped. And Yeah, it happened countless times from about 96 to 2000. And, it was ridiculous. We had to rescue a friend of mine, and his partner in his boat died. So it was a bad time.
Yeah. Wow.
And I've scared myself close to death, crossing that inlet,
right. Getting out, just trying to get out.
Or trying to get home.
Coming in.
If it's that bad to get out, I ain't going.
Yeah.
But trying to get home.
Because you got a tiny inlet you're trying to get through, right?
Yeah, and you get a lot of current and big sea.
Oh, man.
And crossing the shoals is no piece of cake either down here.
Yeah.
And you got to use your head. You got to take your ego out of it. I've seen people hurt bad there.
Yeah, we've got a little, I'm on the West Coast out here, and I'm right on the ocean as well. And I don't think it's quite as bad as what you guys get, but yeah, just those jetties, right, coming in, it's crazy. The currents are and then you get a rough sea.
Yeah, unfortunately we're not jettied.
You're not jetty. This is all natural.
Yeah, all natural, and y'all got some terrible bad inlets out there in Oregon. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so
now that's the interesting thing about the Oregon thing, because I'm actually in Oregon, but Oregon is the name of your, there must be there must be a guy, right? Is this the same person that?
No, it's the first, I don't know if it's true or not, but what I've always heard is the first boat that crossed that inlet was the USS Oregon.
Oh, right. And then you can go to the history of the USS Oregon and figure out that. Yeah. Okay. I'll do a little searching. I don't even know my own history of the state we live in here, but I think, that's probably some guy, right? Oregon. It's an interesting word. Okay. Well, take us around really quick, Brian. Let's go around we were talking the fall, just throughout kind of a season with what you do. And it sounds like maybe you're not doing as much fishing as you were. I mean, is that the case like now? Are you still fishing as many days as before, or back in earlier?
Yeah, I'm fishing just as many days as I want. Starting in end of April and May, I go back to, in the winter, like this time of year, when we get a pretty day, we do crazy stuff. Like Rio's designed some dredging lines that fish really deep. And we like to go to some wrecks or some rocks. I've got a rock book that a friend of mine gave me, and don't share it. You don't share such things. And, we my big goal was to see if we could catch red snappers on fly. And we did that in March. My wife caught 2 or 3, and a friend of mine caught a big one too. And she also caught a big grouper on fly, a 28-inch grouper on fly in 75 foot of water. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So we do silly stuff like that.
Right. So you're finding the rocks and then just getting down towards the bottom?
Yep. And, it just all goes back to our striper fishing back in the 90s and early 2000s. It was all done with sinking lines. You could fish the intermediate line. You catch the dinks, the 25, 28-inch, 30-inch fish all day long on intermediate lines. But if you put a big fly down deep, that's where you get your 40-inch or your 30-pounders. And so we all, it's just evolution. And we worked with Rio, with the line designers, for a couple of years on this dredger. And it's not much fun to cast, but it does its job. It goes deep.
Yeah.
And
wow. So what's the difference if you compare that dredger to the outbound short? Like,
it is actually an outbound short, but what it is like the heaviest one they make, the head on it's 550 grains, and then the running line is very thin, but it's a type 7 sink.
Yeah.
So the whole thing sinks, and it casts like crap, but it does what it was made to do. Yeah.
Gets down in 7 seconds per second, right? That's what it's sinking at.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And, for that's when you got time. And for fishing the reds, we use the Leviathan 500, 600 grain sink tips. And they're fine. They get down because much more than 35 foot of water, the reds become really hard to target on fly because they're moving so fast. But 35 to 20 feet, they're dumber than hell. Most of the time when you're sinking your fly and I'm looking down and watching my clients, all right, start your strip. He's already hooked up.
Yeah.
They eat it as it's floating down, you know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's just floating down.
Yeah. They're very aggressive. And I think they're very, they don't want their buddies to eat it. So they eat it first. Yeah.
Like territorial.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, wow. So you throw it out there and it's sinking. What's the fly on the end there?
Big half and half.
Half and half. Okay.
You know, with the biggest freaking eyes you can find, and like a 2-aught or 3-aught hook.
Yep.
And something about 5 to 6 inches long.
Because
they're eating big bait.
Big bait.
They're eating big bait.
Yeah. Right. So you shoot it out or just cast it out there, flick it, get it out there and let it sink to the bottom. And then once it hits the bottom, do you just strip back up?
Stripping. Yeah. I'm watching my bottom machine and I'm watching the line go down, and I can pretty much tell when it's in the meat. And then I'll tell my guys to start stripping. Gotcha.
And this is for, like you said, this is for
the big reds.
The big reds.
Yeah. No, the red drum. The red snappers. I would be lying if I saw I had them figured out. We just hit the perfect day where it was slick cam and no tide, and we were catching triggers for dinner, and I was watching these fish deep, and I'm going, and Sarah was she likes to fly fish. I'm a meat hunter. I like to eat them. So so she was sinking flies, and but we'll do it again this winter. We just got to get the conditions, which don't happen a lot.
Gotcha. So that's kind of a January, February, and then
January, February, March, April. You could do it all fall too.
Oh, okay. What do you guys typically do when you're out there after, what is your winter into spring look like?
Well, we're sitting around the house, if we're not traveling. We used to travel a lot in the winter and slowed up some from the travel schedule. And, we just right now, we leave here, I think, on the 19th of January and go waterfowl hunting for a week, and then we're going to help Wes Siegler reels at the fly fishing show for a couple of days, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, Siegler, that's right.
Yeah, he's a dear friend, and and then we don't have much planned for February, and so we'll see. Pretty days we'll go. It's just, I'm sure we'll maybe go to Florida and photograph birds. We're wildlife photographers, so we'll do something.
Yeah. Or could we see some of your photos? Do you guys have those like online, or do you sell them?
Yeah, I do. I've got a Smug Mug site.
Smug
Mug. Just Brian Horsley at Smug Mug.
How do you spell that? I'm not familiar with that site.
SUMGMUG, I think is it.
Oh yeah, Smug Bug. Oh, log in. There you go, Smug Bug. Interesting. I haven't heard of this. So this is a
photo hosting site.
Photo hosting. Gotcha. Yeah, log on. So you can log on.
Yeah, or I can log on and change it. You can just go view. What it is just stroking my ego.
But people could check it out. They could check it out and maybe.
Yeah, there's a whole section up there of this year's Cape Harker's Island Cape Lookout season.
Drifthook has pre-packed fly assortments for every stage of your fly fishing journey. Their professionally curated fly fishing kits are crafted so you can catch more on your next outing. Each kit is organized by species and includes instructional videos and easy-to-follow guides. I've got the nymph box right here in my pack, and I've been loving this. They've got everything from the tiny zebra midges with a little flash, or all the way up to their large go-to guide flies. This box has you covered for all conditions. And were you thinking Euro nymphs? They got that covered as well. Beautiful Euro nymph flies, all the key flies you need to get going, whether you're a brand new to it or a veteran. Drifthook has the flies for you. Along with their nymph boxes, they have dry flies, streamers, and all the education to go along with all these as well. These are fly shop quality flies, hand tied and inspected before being carefully packed neatly into these boxes. And Matt personally packs and prepares these boxes like he was tucking the kids in for bed at night, cozy, comfortable, and just the right amount of love. Whether you're an experienced angler who needs to stock up on some flies or get a great gift for the family, Drifthook has you covered. Check them out right now. That's Drifthook, wetflyswing.com/Drifthook, and use swing at checkout to get 15% off your next order. You support this podcast and small business by checking out Drifthook right now. Cool. All right. And then, and so just taking it around there. And do you do the show season? I mean, that's coming up here. Do you guys do, it sounds like you're doing a little bit. You do a little bit of that?
Not anymore. We used to do this. We used to do shows for, I don't know, 25 years. And then it became more of a very expensive social meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
And, you know, we'll still do it because I buy most of my materials up there where I can put my hands on them for time for the upcoming season and just to reconnect with people.
Yeah.
Back when the manufacturers used to come to the show, we're sponsored by Sage and Rio. Mm-hmm. And it was time to put, you know, faces on, you know, face-to-face meetings and stuff. And but I don't know if they're doing the shows anymore. And it's got the expense got just stupid.
Yeah, this is like, are you talking about the fly fishing shows? The
any shows
for just any of them?
Yeah, they've just gotten stupid. I mean, it's stupid expensive.
Oh, they have, so they're more expensive. I didn't realize that.
Well, you know, you look at a big company like Sage or Orbis or whoever. You know, just getting their booth there is
giant.
It's giant. Then you got to have the staff. You got to put staff up. You got to feed them.
Yep.
It's hard.
Yeah, they definitely have the giant booths there. That's cool. What was on the show season? Did you, what you kind of enjoyed most? What was the thing you liked about doing them?
Nothing.
So nothing. So there was nothing about it. It was like literally you guys went there to make connections.
No, I enjoyed hanging out with people, looking at materials. I'm a material geek, but it was okay. You know, it's a good way to connect with friends. And past few years, it hasn't, that we did them. It was not very good for business.
Right. Gotcha. Well, I wanted to, you mentioned the Sage. What's the rod that you would, you use or you recommend for, if you're talking like 9-weight, what do you use that for?
I like the Salt HD and the Igniter 8. Okay. And the Mavrk is a good rod. I keep that on the boat too. The Mavrk 9-weight is a very good rod, and they've got a lot. People ask me, "Which rod did I get?" And I said, "Well, if you got an opportunity to go cast. Find one that you like. What I like might not be what you like." And for bone fishing, that 7-weight Igniter to me is the best rod I've ever thrown.
Okay,
it's unbelievable.
Nice.
But some people don't like it. It's a personal preference.
Mm-hmm. And you're using like Siegler? Was that the reels you use?
Yeah, I'm using Sage reels as well as Sieglers. Sage reels are great. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they make good sense.
But Wes is a dear friend, and when he started this journey 15 years ago to make a fly reel, he's already making conventional stuff. And to make a fly reel, we met up at a tackle shop. He was down servicing the tackle shop at home, and we sat down, we talked about it, and we've become very, very close. And we've field tested a lot of his prototypes, and it's been fun. Mm-hmm. It's been fun. They're badass. We've caught a lot of fish on his, caught a lot of billfish on his big reels and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You definitely hear. I mean, that name is out there for sure. He must be doing some good stuff there.
He is, but he's a small company in a big world.
Right. So, he's out of Virginia.
Out of Virginia Beach. Yep.
Virginia Beach. There you go. Very cool. Okay. And let's just take it around as we kind of take it out of here. So we were just swinging around as far as the fishing and springtime, and prepping for summer. What's that? When do you start guiding? When does that start for you?
I start 1st of May.
Yeah, 1st of May.
At 1st of May. If people want to come here in April to Harker's Island, we'll run some trips for sure. And but in May, it's all inshore, it's all backcountry. The reds are still schooled up. The slot reds are still schooled up, and then the speckled trout show up, and then basically my summer is family fishing. We do get some albies in the summer. They're small fish when the ocean's, doable. And they usually show up at the end of June and are there all through the fall. And they're eating little bait. It can be, we're talking tiny stuff. It can be frustrating at times, but you can get some bites. And it's fun because you're fishing with 7 weights. And because they're 5-pound fish.
Yeah.
And but it's mainly speckled trout and reds. And then we move on. We used to have a great shark fishery on fly in the ocean. And I think the ocean water being a couple of degrees warmer overall in the summer is pushed them further north. I don't know. I'm going to plan on trying more of it this year.
What kind of sharks are those?
Mainly spinners and black tips. And, you're using chum, and they're 30 feet from the boat. And
oh, wow.
They'll eat a fly.
Yeah. And they're what size? How big are these fish?
They used to be 25 to 50 pounds, which was freaking perfect.
Yeah.
Now they tend to be 80 to 200, which is too damn big.
Oh man. So when you catch a shark, one of those sharks, how does that compare to some of these like the false albacore?
It's just different. They're fast. They jump, and then it's bulldog. And quite frankly, the spinners, the first run, you hardly ever survive the first run just because when they jump, hence their name, they spin, they corkscrew in the air, and they wrap your fly line up, and you tip it up, and they break it off, which is perfect.
Yeah. Gosh. So the hookup, that's like the big part of it.
Oh, yeah. The hookup in the first run. After that, it's all downhill.
Yeah. You don't want to, if you bring them in, release them, what's that like grabbing a shark?
Just grab it in and grab the leader and pull hard.
Yeah.
I'm fishing barbless hooks, and I'm fishing cheap hooks, so they'll rust out in a matter of days. And they're really stupid, simple flies.
Yeah.
And little stripper rabbit and some marabou, and you're good to go.
Right. Do you ever hear of people, sharks out there, any sort of shark issues with like humans surfing or anything else like that?
A little bit. A few years ago, we had a lot of black tips and spinners right in, but they're small, and they're not going to eat you.
Yeah,
people get nibbled on.
Right.
Which I don't want to. I've been bit a couple of times, but
oh really? You've been bit by a shark?
Yeah, on my hands trying to do stupid human stuff.
Like while you're fishing, like releasing fish?
Yeah, the little ones are the ones that won't get you. And I didn't give him respect. I've still got a scar on top of my left hand.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So he just you barely just touch him, right? And they just slice you open?
Yeah, he sliced me up pretty good. And trying to show a kid what not to do.
Oh, really? Gotcha. Oh, man.
But it's, they're fun. But no, you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
Yeah, that's right. That's not a big worry. Okay, so that and then so you get the family stuff. Basically, the family stuff being like you're not out there like stripping flies. You got gear using with kids. A
lot of our scenarios is the dad may want to fly fish or the mom, and the kids don't. So we can do both at the same time. It's not a problem.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that because that's part of the thing, right? You could go out on your own and go fishing, or you could take your family and like have the whole experience. And you guys cater. That's cool.
I tell guys if they get their wife interested in fishing, they'll fish a lot more.
Right. That is the key.
Yep.
Man, okay. So you guys do that during the summer, and then when do you start turning out where you're like, okay, it's fly only. We're kind of going hardcore.
October 1st.
So that's it.
And it can be, it's like any saltwater fishing. It's very weather related, but it can be spectacular.
Yeah. That sounds pretty good. It sounds like, heading out your way. Are there a lot of people guiding? Like when you retire here, are there plenty of people who are going to take your slot?
Oh yeah. Not a problem.
Yep. You got your crew out there.
Yeah. Not so much in Nag's Head. There's some kayak guides, fly guys who are really good. And actually their fly fishing's a lot better than mine.
Huh.
They can get into places I can't get into.
Oh, right.
And they've got good red fishing all summer, and in the really shallow stuff. And but other than that, there's not a lot of fly guides up there. But here around Cape Woodite, there are some exceptionally good young guides here, and I'm glad I don't have to go head to head with them every day, because we're good friends. But man, they're good. You got to step your game up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, are there local fly shops in your area around there?
There's one in Manio, and like I said, it's OBX on the fly. And then Cape Woodite Fly Shop is in Atlantic Beach. And then there's a new one, which I don't know anything about yet, opened up in Swansboro. And other than that, your closest fly shop's going to be Raleigh, 3 hours away.
Oh, 3 hours. Yeah. Right. Gotcha. Okay. And then how far is Chapel Hill from the whole North Carolina?
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. Yeah.
It's right there, bunched up to Raleigh,
That's right. Are you a big basketball fan or sports fan?
Yeah, but not of Carolina.
Not Carolina. Who's your team?
NC State.
Oh, NC State. Yeah, Jimmy Valvano, right? That was the old back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. And
so you're not a Michael Jordan fan.
I like Michael Jordan. He's an incredible basketball player, but I'm not a Carolina fan. No.
There you go. Okay, so North Carolina State. That's right. And do you know much? Is North Carolina? I mean, it's a big state. Have you spent a lot of time just traveling around that state and just
most of it?
Yeah, so you know most of it. And there's lots. I mean, that's the cool thing about North Carolina. There's lots of diversity. Of fishing.
I go to the western part of the state a couple of times a year and make a fool. And I have a client who owns a fly shop up in Cashiers and Brookings Anglers, and we'll go up there and trout fish up there, which can be spectacular. And that's where I'm learning. Now we'll go up there in March. March is a really good month there, as long as the rivers don't get blown out. And it's fun. I like floating. I like the photography aspect of it, but the fishing's good. And even an idiot like me can catch them.
Nice. That is great. So as you get older, you're thinking maybe the trout fishing will do a little more of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in a cool part of it's a cool part because you have all the salt stuff, but like you said, you just go inland towards Tennessee, right? And you run into all sorts of the mountains.
Yeah, it's about 8 hours away, but
8 hours.
But still.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, anything else? I mean, if somebody was coming in here or somebody's listening now and they really wanted to get out and chase some of these fish, get on the saltwater, or if they were coming, maybe they had a trip in October, what would you be telling, them about getting ready?
Well, obviously you need rain gear. If you don't have a 9-weight and you don't regularly fish salt, don't buy one. I've got plenty.
Yeah, they could use your Sage.
Yeah, I could use my tackle. I've got the flies, and I prefer my flies. Unless some of my clients, I steal the hell out of their flies. But, you need to touch base 3 or 4 days before you come. Because if the weather's bad, I'm going to turn you around. And there ain't no sense to come down here and sit in a motel for 3 days and watch it blow.
No, gotcha. So you have to reschedule.
Yeah. We'll try to reschedule, but and just do a weather check, and that's it. Basically, it's pretty simple. And if you got questions, email is great for me because I get up early, and I'm always checking my emails.
Okay, what was that email again? Remind us again. It was if we want to track you down there.
obxff54@gmail.com.
Perfect. Okay, good. Well, I'll put that in the show notes as well. And do you ever have people come as groups, like a kind of like a hosted trip? If you had people coming down to do, you can handle that.
Yep. But you got to give me, some time,
right,
to arrange some other boats for sure.
Okay. All right. And is your wife going to be sticking with it, or is she going to be retiring with you when you head out?
No, she's sticking with me. She's a lot younger than I am.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So you're still going to have the business going there.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. This is good. So that's good to know. And if we ever
I'm all to do it. I'm committed now.
Yeah.
at least 4 more years.
Okay, so you're going to be doing it 4 more years.
Yeah,
perfect.
At least.
All right.
Because we got a couple. We got a couple of guys here in their 80s.
Oh wow, nice. Yeah. Is it pretty? I mean, you got some rough waters at times, but it's not like you're hiking a lot, right? It's pretty casual.
You're just getting your ass handed to you with chop and rough.
Oh, the chop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't figured that out yet with like how do you build something, maybe the standing something in that goes against the chop that makes it easier. Do they have anything like that?
They do on bigger boats. It's called Seakeeper.
Okay, and that's where like the flexible floor or something like that.
No, it's actually a gyro system in the
in the whole boat.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. That sounds like, because I've been out there, man. I remember a number of years ago, I was out with a crazy buddy who had like a 17-foot sled, and he took us way out in the ocean, and it got windy on us, and we came back against the chop, and it was just backbreaking.
Welcome to my world.
That's it. You do that every day.
Yeah, and Seakeepers in these boats probably cost 5 times what my boat costs.
No kidding. Gosh. Yeah. Your boat isn't cheap. I'm sure your boat is a pretty penny, right?
Yes.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll put, like we said, outerbanksflyfishing.com, right? Is the website?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram.
Okay. What's your Instagram?
Brian Horsley.
Brian Horsley. Okay.
And on Facebook, we're Outer Banks Fly Fishing on Facebook. That gets more traffic than my website.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll track you down on social as well. And
yeah.
I'll put some links out to all this, and we'll track down. Maybe we'll track down Real Action as well. It sounds like that's a good group. I've heard a lot about them.
No, it's a great group. It's first class.
Good. Okay. All right, Brian. Well, thanks for giving us a little intro into your world and fishing out there. I think there's sounds like a pretty awesome opportunity to get some albies. I mean, like just the hookup, just to feel that would be pretty cool. It sounds like so.
It is cool. It's very cool.
All right, Brian. Well, thanks for your time today. I'll check back with you when we get this ready to roll.
All right. Thank you.
So there it is. Coming in across that bar, coming across that landing, that inlet, safe, calm seas today. We've got calm seas on board. That was a great episode. Brian broke down here on fishing the Outer Banks. Wetflyswing.com/409. 409. That's where you need to go to get the extras, the videos, the podcasts, everything bonus we have is at wetflyswing.com/409. Quick listener shout out before we get out of here. Lee Potter. Lee reached out on email and said he loved the main fly fishing episode. Lee also mentioned about a potential future episode on the Rapid River. We didn't note that. Lee mentioned that in this episode, but there are some things going on with bass, and I am going to work on that right now. If you know somebody that knows the Rapid River well, maybe knows about what's going on with the bass effects on the area up there, or just knows about fishing that river, please let me know. Dave at wetflyswing.com, and I'll give you a shout out on this episode. That's the best way, just like Lee here. If you want to get a shout out and you haven't connected to me before, this is your opportunity. Dave at wetflyswing.com. Send me an email, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to share, give you a shout out here on the episode. Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look where we're heading. I love to look out because I'm always wondering myself. So we got next week. Next week we got man, I'm not even sure. Actually, as I look out, you know what I'm going to look out towards? I'm going to look out 2 weeks ahead because we got something big coming up here, which is the Euro nymphing giveaway. I want to give a heads up on that because that's coming right around the corner. So if you're interested in a bunch of gear, potentially winning a bunch of gear, you want to hear about this trip where we're going, and you've been thinking about Euro nymphing, maybe upping your game to get it up to the pro level, we are going to have the best guides pretty much in the country. They're going to be leading this school event that we're doing, and I would love to see you there. All right, it is definitely a late one. I don't even want to talk about what time it is, but it is late in the night on a good night. It's a calm night out there, so I'm loving it. And I hope to see you. I hope I can catch you on maybe that trip, maybe that Euro nymphing trip, or if not, catch me online. Let me know, Dave at wetflyswing. And I hope you are having a good evening. a good morning, or good afternoon, wherever in the world you are, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.